Yo, what is going on, everyone? It's GentooMan here, also known as Rainy, and today's story time is about the very first time I ever tried lean. Now, I'm just gonna start right out by saying I do not think it's a good idea that you do this. Don't watch this video and take it as encouragement to go do that. I would not recommend it. This is just kind of a funny story. I haven't done it for a long time, and I probably won't ever do it again. It's just a funny story that I thought you guys might enjoy, so I'm telling it, but it comes with a warning. But yeah, that's the warning. That's the intro. Let's hop into the story. So this story time takes place when I was in high school, and takes place in the winter, start of the year. I think it was about January. Or no, it was about January because New Year's had just happened. So yeah, it was January, keep in mind, and your boy just got broken up with. And that's the whole situation within itself. I've briefly mentioned it before, and I've said I'm not touching that story unless this channel hits 1K. There's no debate in that. That's just how it is. Channel hits 1K, we'll get that story. Never hits 1K, we never get that story. But yeah, basically the point is I was not doing super great. I was kind of down in the dumps, even more so than I already had been because of this whole breakup thing. So, as you do once you get broken up with, unless you really didn't care, it's you're not feeling good. You don't want to do anything. You're depressed pretty much. You're sad, basic human emotions. And so I wouldn't do anything. I hardly played video games. I hardly watched movies. I hardly talked to anyone in school. I wouldn't hang out with my friends. I wouldn't do anything. I was just feeling sad all the time. And a lot of my friends had asked me to hang out during this time, and I said no, man, I'm not feeling good. I'm not gonna come. I'll catch you next time though. So I never hung out with anybody because I was avoiding it. I wasn't feeling super great, so I never hung out with anybody until one day I was sitting in my math class just at school, not doing my math, just looking out the window, going on my phone, just kind of wishing class would end. And then this guy who I sat next to, we're going to call him Kyle. Kyle started talking to me. And it was a Friday, I remember that specifically, because he leaned over to me. He was like, yo, dude, what do you got going on after school today? And I was like, nothing. Just the brushing off, I don't want to talk to anyone. I just I pull my earbud out for a second because he's talking to me. And he's like, yo, what are you up to tonight? I'm like, nothing. And I just kind of put it back in. I'm basically the universal sign for I don't want to talk to people. But he keeps talking, so I pull my earbud back out, and I'm listening to him, and he's like, I'm having people over tonight, and, we're gonna, chill in the hot tub, and, have drinks, just kind of, hang out, and, it'll be fun, bro, you should come. Now, this struck me as, a little weird, because me and Kyle weren't, close, we'd talk here and there, because we sat next to each other in math class, and, we'd hung out in school a couple times, but never outside of school. And I was just kind of I don't know, man, I don't know, I'm not feeling super great today. I haven't been for a bit. I might sit this one out. He's like, man, you should come. You should really come. Just let me know, okay? And I'm like, I'll let you know, man. And right as this conversation ends, I put my earbud back in. Right as I'm hey, yeah, no, I'm not going. I immediately think that to myself because I wasn't planning on going. I got a text from my mom, and she's kind of going off on me, telling me saying why didn't you do this? You're supposed to do this, a chore. I can't remember exactly what it was. And she wasn't wrong. I didn't do it, and I was asked to. So that's my bad. I'm the one in the wrong here. But at the time, I was just being a moody teenager, as I do. And I'm this is stupid. I don't want to deal with this. And she's going off. I'm I don't want to deal with this when I get home. So I lean over to Kyle, and I'm you know what, dude, I'll come. He's like, you will? I'm like, yeah, dude, I will. I totally will. I'll be there. And then, when and where. He gave me the time. He said, 9 o'clock or something. And, he gave me his address. I put it in my phone. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll see you tonight. And, the class ended, and, then it was, lunch, and I had more classes in the afternoon. I was kind of worried because I remember he had said that they were going to have, a hot tub there. And I didn't think I had a swimsuit, and I didn't want to go home and get one. But luckily we were doing the swimming unit in gym because there was a pool attached to my school. And so I had one just in my backpack, or it wasn't in my backpack, it was in my gym locker just for that. So that was good. I didn't have to go home and grab it, so I just grabbed it from my locker, and I had it. And like I said, after school I didn't really want to go home, so I kind of just existed around my city, around the area. Because, I didn't want to go home and, do things, but, I had a long time before, the thing started. So I just kind of, existed. I got some food. I actually went and saw a movie. Like, I don't remember what I saw. It was like one of the like movies. It's like not a new release at like a cheap theater or something. But like, I just basically killed time for like 6 hours. And during these 6 hours, I had a lot of time to myself, right? Just me and my own mind, my own thoughts, which was not really great for me at the time because my own thoughts weren't particularly pleasant. I was very sad, as I mentioned. So, I'm dealing with that. And eventually the time does come finally. And I go to Kyle's house for this function. And it immediately becomes very clear to me that this was a poor decision. I was not in the right headspace for this. I shouldn't have just avoided going home and gone to this. It was just not a great idea to go. Like, there wasn't that many people there to begin with, but like there's just a couple people, and we were kind of just hanging out in like the hot tub and around there. And, I wasn't like drinking or anything. I was just like snacking on like bags of chips, and I wasn't very talkative, and like I'm already pretty introverted, but I was just like super like nonverbal, pretty much just like snacking in a corner. So eventually I kind of just like step out of the hot tub quietly, and Kyle himself notices, and he's like, yo, like, dude, where you going? He's like, man, I'm not feeling good. I think I'm going to go like rest up. He's like, yeah, man, like, do what you got to do. Like, you take your rest. We'll be here. I'm like, thanks, man. So I go down to his basement, and I kind of just like lay there for a bit. And like, I'm not going to like sleep at this random person's house. Well, I mean, I guess he's not really a random person, but I'm not going to sleep at this dude's house, especially with a party going on. I'm not just going to like fall asleep on his couch. So I'm just kind of resting there. And eventually I notice an Xbox 360. So I literally turn on this Xbox and start playing COD Zombies. Like, I remember I was playing Black Ops 2 and I was playing Zombies on Transit. And I was just playing this by myself, hiding away from the party. And like, I heard more and more people like showing up. Like, it probably an hour went by and a ton more people showed up. Like, no one came downstairs. It was just me, and I was just, playing COD. And like I said, a lot of time goes by. I'm kind of just like sitting there playing games. And then I hear someone coming down the stairs. And so obviously I look over because I hear the noise, and I see this girl who's in, I think like she was in a couple of my classes. Maybe it was just the one, but like I did know her is the point. We're going to call her Katie for the sake of this video. And she saw me and she's like, oh, sorry. Like I was just looking for the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, like, no worries. She's like, what are you doing down here? Like everyone's upstairs. And I just say like, oh, I'm not feeling super well. So I'm kind of just like sitting down. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, like I'm feeling kind of tired from like being up there. Do you mind if I sit with you for a bit? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So she sits with me, and I kind of like ignore her for a bit. Like, to be honest, I kind of like ignored her. I kind of just like kept playing my game, and she kept like asking me like little questions about the game, and I kind of like give her like the non-answers. I'll be like, oh yeah, or like, yeah, it's this or something. Like, I wasn't being super talkative. And eventually she's kind of asked, she's like, so like, you're not feeling good? Like, what's wrong? Like, why are you down here? I don't know. Something about that just made me like kind of like break. Like, I was just like, like I've had a lot happening recently. I decided to come to like kind of escape my life, and yeah, my life's not even that bad, but that's kind of what I said. But no, I kind of just told her like I'm kind of just like here to escape, but like it was kind of a bad idea because like I just want to go home, and just like I'm not feeling a party right now. And I kind of like get really deep into it and like overshare, and kind of like gave her like the whole rundown of what had happened, like breakup and whatnot. And she's like, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. Like, I hope things get better, and she was just kind of like listening to my like trauma dump. And then she looks over at the Xbox and she picks up a controller, and she's like, you know what? I'm really tired from the party. I don't really want to go back up there. You mind if I play with you? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, that's totally cool. So we hook up her controller, we start a new game, and we just kind of like play zombies together. And like before we started our game, she's like, I kind of want like something to drink. Like, I'm going to go grab something. Like, do you want something? Like, I'll be right back. And I'm like, like maybe, but like I don't want anything with like alcohol in it or anything, I don't really want to drink. She's like, okay. And then as she's leaving, I'm like, you know what, maybe actually, just like get whatever you think is good. And she's like, okay, I'll figure something out. And so I'm waiting down there for like probably about 15 minutes. Like, she's starting to be gone for a long time. And she comes back down with 2 Sprite bottles, except the Sprite is purple. Now, I'm guessing from the title of this video that you know what that means, but in case you don't, it was lean. And so she comes back over to me, she sits down on the couch, and she kind of like puts them both down. She's like, okay, so I know this is like a little extreme, but like I kind of want to try it. And like a dude up there was like, selling me, it was like selling some to people at the parties. Like he sold me 2, and like I kind of want to try it, but like we could try it together while we're like playing games. It'll just be like a chill like thing. Like you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Sorry, it was like super rash decision, but like, do you want to try it with me? And now I was kind of hesitant. I didn't really know, but like, because I hadn't even really like smoked weed or anything at this point, and I was like, I kind of thought about it, and I was like humming and hawing about it. And I was like, you know what? Like, it's a drink. How bad can it be? And like, you already spent money on it, so like, whatever. Let's just do it. So we did. We didn't like chug it or anything. We like slowly drank it while we were playing our game, and I don't know. It really kind of just like felt like taking medicine, because it kind of just felt like you just getting like drowsy and like kind of tired. But it was like the weirdest sensation, because like as we were playing this game, I was like getting more and more tired. But it was also like feeling good, and like I wanted to do things almost, but like couldn't because I was tired. It was really weird sensation. You know, a while goes by, and like we actually lasted pretty long in COD Zombies. Eventually we did die, and like our bottles were empty and stuff. And what the fuck did I call her? Oh right, Katie looks over at me and she's like, you know what? I'm kind of bored of this party. It's been fun playing games, but like, you want to go for a walk? I'm like, yeah, sure. So we get up, we walk through the house. I dap up Kyle, tell him thanks for inviting me. Sorry that I was hiding the entire time. He's like, no worries, man. Like, you feel better. Thanks for coming. I'll see you at school. I'm like, yeah, later, dude. And so me and Katie leave. Now, I said it was January, and it was January. It was just like, it was oddly warm. It wasn't warm, but it was like fall weather out, and it was like a lot of the snow was like melted. It was really weird, you know, like seasons basically don't exist where I live. It's just whatever the hell it decides to be on any given day. We're kind of walking, and we walk through like the neighborhood, and then we end up like there's like this big like forest in my city, and basically wraps around like the entire city. So we end up like in this forest. It's like a park, right? And we're walking through like on the path until eventually we start going like off path, and we find like a little, I don't even know if it'd be like a river or like what you would call it. It's like almost like a pond, but like we find like a small body of water pretty much. And up until this point, we've just been like walking and talking, and then we find this like small body of water, and it's like we like put our hands in it and stuff, and we're like, it's surprisingly warm. So Katie looks over at me and she's like, we should go swimming. And I'm like, I don't know about that. It's kind of really cold outside. I mean, it wasn't that cold outside. I just wasn't really feeling it. She's like, come on. Let's go swimming. It's not that cold outside. It's not that bad. Like, come on. So she just like strips down to her underwear and gets in the water. And at this point, I'm just wearing like a swimsuit and a hoodie like from the party. So I just like take my hoodie off and I join her. And like nothing happened. Like I mean, not that nothing happened. It's just like nothing crazy happened. It's not like where the story takes like a weird turn and we like hooked up or whatever. Like nothing like that happened. We kind of just like sat there in the water, just like kind of existing, and just like continued talking. And, you know, it was fun because sometimes those are like the best hangouts when it's like late at night and you're just like doing a random thing. You're just like talking to a person, and you know, she's like a really cool person. And I like enjoyed spending time with her. So eventually, you know, like we were getting a little cold, and like it's a miracle that neither of us got like hypothermia. But I mean, I guess it wasn't that cold out. So we hop out, we like get back dressed, and we walk out of the whole park thing, and we end up walking to Katie's house. And by the time we get there, it's probably like 12:30. It's like midnight. Maybe it's even like 1 o'clock. And we walk into her house, and her mom is still awake, just in the kitchen. And her mom's like, oh, like, is that you, Katie? And she's like, yeah, it is. Like, I have a friend with me, if that's okay. And like, it's the middle of the night at this point, so it's kind of weird. Her mom's like, oh yeah, totally. Like, do you guys want pizza? And Katie gets so excited. She's like, oh my God, yes. And like her mom walks out from the kitchen and she sees me. She's like, hi, like, I'm Katie's mom. Like, what's your name? It's nice to meet you. I'm like, oh, my name's Rainey. Like, it's nice to meet you. And yeah, she literally cooks like a million probably of like those frozen pizzas. She puts like pizza after pizza through the oven, and we're just sitting there watching a movie on Netflix. Like, I remember this specifically. We were watching Sausage Party, you know, like the animated movie with like the little swearing hot dogs. And like, as we were watching it, her mom, who was like such a kind lady, by the way, just keeps coming out with like more and more of these pizzas, and we're just like demolishing them as we watch this movie. But eventually, you know, like the mom's like, okay, like, I'm going to go off to bed. You guys have a good night. And we're like, thank you so much for the food. You too. And eventually Katie sort of like dozes off and like falls asleep on my shoulder. I mean, shortly after I doze off as well, I fall asleep. And yeah, from that point forward, I'm asleep. So I wake up the next morning. I wake up because I wake up to her dad, or at least I assumed it was her dad, and I figured out it was. I wake up to her dad, like, sort of picking her up, like, off of me. So I kind of, like, jolt awake because here's this random man I've never seen before. And he, like, sort of quietly says, he's like, oh, hey, like, I'm Katie's dad. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, it's nice to meet you. I'm Rainey. And he's just, like, holding his asleep daughter at this point. Like, he just picks her up. And he's like, well, like, I'm going to take her up to her bed. I know she's got, like, gymnastics later today. But what are you up to for the day? I'm like, oh, like, not much. I'm probably just going to head home. Sorry that I, like, crashed on your couch, probably without permission. I just fell asleep. He's like, oh, no, it's no worries. No worries. You're headed home. Like, I'm just headed out to work. Like, do you want to ride? And so I sort of said, like, oh, no, like, it's okay. Like, that's nice of you to offer. But, like, you're going to work. Like, it's probably not even the same direction. Like, I don't want to inconvenience you. He's like, oh, well, like, whereabouts are you? And, like, I told him, like, whereabouts my house is. He's like, that's perfect. That's literally the way I'm going. Like, I'll give you a ride. Just let me take her upstairs. And so he does. He takes her up to her bed. And as he's walking up the stairs, I check my phone, and I have, like, 10 missed calls from my mom and a bunch of, like, text messages from my mom. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, well, that's great. You know, pretty much asking me, like, where am I and why did I never come home and what happened. So that was going to be fun to deal with. But yeah, her dad came back down, and I followed him out to his car. I got in, and he drove me home, and it was a really awkward drive. Like, it just, like, it wasn't, like, there's nothing too weird about it. It was just awkward, because, like, I don't know this guy, and I just, like, woke up on his couch, and he was driving me home. And so he asked me, he's like, so what'd you guys get up to last night? And I told him, like, oh, like, we went to this party, and, like, it wasn't that cool, and it was kind of getting out of hand. So we ended up leaving, and then we ended up back at your house, and your wife made us food. It was very nice of her, and we just kind of fell asleep watching the movie. He's like, that sounds like a good night. Sounds like a good night. He just kind of started asking me about, like, you know, the things I'm interested in, sort of stuff I do, like what classes I'm taking at school, you know, like basic stuff. But he was kind of like interviewing me almost. So eventually we do get to my house, and he, like, goes to shake my hand. He's like, well, it was really nice meeting you. And I'm like, yeah, you as well. I'll see you around. He's like, yeah, I'll see you around. So I get out, and he drives off to go to work probably. And I walk into my house, and I have an encounter with my mom. We have a chat, and I pretty much spend the next entire day, like, cleaning my house. But as I'm cleaning, I got a message from Katie over Instagram, because, like, we followed each other, but, like, we didn't, like, know each other super, super well. But we did follow each other because we knew each other kind of. And she texted me, she said, like, hey, like, I had a lot of fun last night. It was cool running into you at that party. Like, we should hang out again sometime soon. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. And, like, at this point, like I said, I just got out of a breakup, so I didn't really know if I was, like, interested in, like, pursuing another relationship here, or if I was, like, just looking for a friendship, because, like, she was cool to hang out with. But, I mean, we did sort of have, like, a bit of a thing for a little bit, but that's a different story for a different time. But anyways, you guys, that pretty much does it for this story time. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you're new. You all know the drill at this point. At least I hope you do. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you all, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.